You know what would be crazy is if you could earn 200 or 300K or more without having to start a company and basically just being able to keep using your corporate skill set. Crazy thing is there's a small group of people on the internet doing this exact thing. Personally, I worked 3 corporate jobs last year testing the boundaries of this, and I took my corporate income from 80K to over 390K. There's many other radical people doing the same thing, figuring out how to still put out high quality work, get 2 to 3 paychecks, earn 20 to 30K per month, and completely change their financial situation. This trend is called overemployment or job stacking, and in this video, we're gonna unpack what it is it realistic, who can do it, what are the pros and cons, what are the risks and rewards, and for anyone who's curious about exploring this for themselves, we're gonna lay down a roadmap on how you can explore it in your own career. Let's do it. My name is Delaney William. The point of this channel is creating future business leaders so that you not only survive, but thrive in the coming tech transformation. So if that's you, you want to really transform your income over the next few years and set yourself up as AI trends continue to evolve, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you get all our new videos to help you crush it in the next decade. So what is overemployment? Overemployment is the concept of having multiple full-time remote jobs. Technically they can be contracts, but the idea is you're getting paid for 40 hours of work per week, which is likely a 6-figure plus salary, and you're able to have 2 or potentially even 3 of those because you're leveraging the remote job market, you're using AI, you're getting more efficient with your work, and your employer's happy because you're still doing high quality output, but it's not taking you as many hours needed per week. Overemployment has been getting a lot more acknowledgement in the media with articles like this. And personally, I run a program called Scale Your Salary that's helped 40 people stack multiple roles in the calendar year. So we know it can definitely be done. So why do people pursue overemployment? It might seem obvious, but the main reason is financial security and stability. We live in a job market where companies are creating massive layoffs every single week. The loyalty between an employer and employee is at an all-time low. People want to make sure their financial situation is secure, and inflation is really eating into people's ability to save and have a long financial runway. So having multiple corporate roles is a much more viable, enticing option for many people. That all sounds great, but what are the risks and challenges? Many people ask, is it even legal to stack multiple roles? Nationally or federally, there is no rule that says you can't have multiple jobs, but most employment contracts will say that you can't have any competing priorities. That's quite vague and often quite hypocritical because most CEOs at companies have other ventures, they have real estate portfolios, they're checking their financial stocks while they're at work. So technically all those things fall into the same bucket, but it's also fair to understand how your employer would be a little more pissed off finding out that you have a second full-time job versus a stock portfolio that you check here and there. So I would never encourage anyone to take this on without really understanding the risk-reward situation for themselves, but it really is a spectrum. So when we look at risks, what are the risks? I've never seen an example of anyone being legally pursued or sued by a company. The worst case scenario is often you're let go. That's the worst I've ever seen. So theoretically, you work one job, you potentially get fired because profit margins aren't where they need to be, even if you've been a loyal employee for 10 years. That's something that could happen. The risks of having multiple jobs is that you have 2 paychecks, one company finds out, you get let go. Potentially both companies find out, you get let go. Still, you have basically the same risk profile of your main job letting you go at any point in time without a safety net or fallback plan. Again, if you have 2 jobs and one of those companies lays you off because of bad financial performance, you still have a paycheck and you're not left high and dry for 3 to 5 months without a paycheck. So I'm not here to tell you that it's riskier to have one job, but if you consider that for yourself, you might understand why this trend is growing significantly. Now, if you're on a visa, which some people are, meaning they're from another country and the reason they're allowed to stay in the United States or their country is because of the employees providing sponsorship, I do not recommend this because then your risk reward, like the worst case scenario, is actually much worse. It could mean you getting kicked out of the country. So when you weigh your pros and cons, your risk reward situation, that's just something you'll want to consider. What jobs work for overemployment? Like I mentioned, we've helped 40 different corporate professionals get these results. Personally, product management is my background, but we've helped people in finance, sales, marketing, software development, UX, UI, data analytics, operations, PR, communications, and many other fields land multiple roles. So it can really be done. The hardest ones are going to be ones where you're required to have much more face time. That might be customer facing or client facing. Sales can be particularly challenging, but it isn't impossible even for our company. Most of the people on our sales team also sell for tech companies while they sell for our coaching offer. So it's very normal, it's very doable. It might feel like it's a challenge, but it's a challenge because you've never been in this position before. You've never started a new job thinking, how can I get the same results in 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week? When you have that mindset, you see so many opportunities, and it takes a little education and training, but nearly anyone can make it happen. And even if you end up in a company where it's more challenging, if you're committed to the vision that I will figure out how to have multiple full-time roles at 400K, if you commit yourself to that vision and you have a good pipeline of interviews coming through, which if you check out some of our other videos, you'll understand how we do that. But if you're having 5 to 10 interviews per week for new roles, you no longer have to stay committed to a specific company that's not supporting your vision. So if it's hard to automate your work or spend less hours in meetings, find a different job that allows you to do that. Take empowerment and take control over your financial career if this is something that you want for yourself. Now, this probably seems obvious, but it's worth stating. This works best for all remote roles. Could it theoretically work for a hybrid role? Possibly, but personally, I think the stress that invites in makes it much more challenging, and I would really focus on how do I get myself into a remote role first that allows me to stack something on top of that. Another question we hear all the time is, how do you actually stack multiple jobs without working 60 or 80 hours a week? Again, it's a mindset thing. Many people are conditioned to needing to put 40 hours into a job, but I would really have them question their values and their belief systems before they even get into the tactics. Because if you're that person, you need to make a change on your value system. Because instead of being an overachiever and I need to show my company how valuable I am, you need to change that belief system to, I just need to do good enough. As long as I'm doing good enough that they're happy with my results and I'm not a top performer, that really unlocks the door. So you just have to change your value system to, I care more about my family and their financial situation than I do about the company liking me. And that doesn't mean sacrificing work quality and doing a crappy job. It just means making sure that you're getting good enough results. A 3 out of 5 on your feedback form at the end of the year is all you need to do to stay employed. Once you have aligned value systems, then we can figure out how to chip away at the time you're spending in each role. There are 3 main pillars for that: AI, automation, and systemization. Systemization is basically being a leader within your team, being an advocate for asynchronous, efficient work. You can get anyone in an organization bought in on that, but it requires you to stand up and be a change agent to make your team dynamics much more efficient. The AI, kind of self-explanatory. For you, it might be ChatGPT. It might be a coding tool that helps you write code much more faster and efficiently. Regardless, we constantly need to be looking at our workflows and figuring out what AI tools allow me to reduce the amount of time I'm spending on tasks. I kept a corporate job way longer than I needed to because I was getting paid $10K a month to do a job that literally required me 30 minutes per week. And so many hours were automated, and ChatGPT did my entire job for me. Not every job is going to be that way, but if you lean on AI tools and get really proficient with them, you'll buy so much more time back. Last is outsourcing. I mentioned it in other videos. We are huge believers in hiring teams from the Philippines, elsewhere, for really economical hour rates where they're really excited about the opportunity to work with you and having them do some of the work. So if you're getting paid $10K a month by a company and you pay a person in the Philippines who has amazing experience doing what you do, are asked to do a deliverable, you hand it off to them and then you give it back to the company. Of course, there can be challenges with that. Different security measures and tech infrastructures at companies may make that more challenging. But again, there are 3 levers that I just mentioned. You don't need to use all 3 to equal degrees, but those are 3 levers you can pull on to get more efficient in your roles. And all I can say is I was able to get 3 full-time jobs down to about 25 hours of work per week. And not that everyone will have that exact experience, but when you just choose the mindset that you're going to figure it out, it becomes a lot more easy to do so. If you're considering pursuing this, there's a few other things you should consider. LinkedIn presence. You need to make sure that companies aren't finding out that you're dually employed. That often means just not updating your LinkedIn and leaving it blank so that you can just say, I don't check it very often. And background information is really important. When companies run background checks on you, it can show up that you have dual employment because they're able to see your paycheck history, which isn't information anyone, whether you're pursuing overemployment or not, should want out there for anyone to find, literally knowing how much you make per year. So definitely take control over that and make sure that information is not available. The last thing I want to address is the ethical concerns of this. So again, everyone's ethics and morals are going to be different, but for me, my number one value is as long as I'm putting out high quality work and the company is getting a return on their investment of paying me, despite how I choose to fulfill that work, I am ethically aligned with that. That doesn't mean you will be, but I have a belief that none of this works, none of it is sustainable if you can't produce quality work, because eventually you're just going to get fired anyways. So that's how I align with this ethically. Again, you'll make your own decision on that. If this feels interesting, I want to show you a few examples of people we've helped land multiple jobs. We helped Clayton take his yearly income as a sales rep from 60K to over 190K in tech sales. We helped Heather land an extra job at 110K in the cybersecurity field. And we helped Dom go from 1 job to 3 jobs all at the same time as a product manager. If you're curious about overemployment, want to understand if it's for you, you can book a 15-minute screening call with me and my team. We have a 100% job placement guarantee in 6 months of working with us. So because of that, we are quite specific on the types of people we choose to work with. So the point of the call is to understand if it's even a mutual fit, but we want to make sure you get as much value out of it as possible. So you can head over to elevatedtech.us/book to grab that slot or find the link down below. Regardless, best of luck on your job search. And thank you again, all the future business leaders watching our videos. We appreciate you being here and excited to see you in the next video.